So, we're going to talk about food labels now and also about exercise and just healthy living for teens as well. And this will be the second half of this lesson today. Um, a food label is, by law, mandated on all pre-packaged foods. And the food label will contain two parts to it. One is a nutrition facts label, which we're going to see in a second. It's like a little chart that outlines your calories and your percentage of fats and carbohydrates and main vitamins and minerals. And then there's also an ingredient list. And we're not actually going to focus on the ingredient list very much here. Just, basic things that you should know about the ingredient list. It's always listed in decreasing order of the amount of the ingredient. So one of the things that I would recommend is if you were starting to become aware of your food choices and looking at the labels, I would be choosing foods that do not have sugar listed as the top one or two ingredient in your ingredient list. Be aware of that. And many times we're not even aware that certain foods contain sugar. So this is just one thing, in the next few days, as you listen to these lessons and start to think about the foods that we're eating, start looking at your labels, okay, and seeing what kind of ingredients are in fact present. Some of them might have nutritional claims, but these are optional. So the two things that are mandated by law are the nutrition facts table and an ingredient list. So the nutrition facts table is meant to allow you to do a few things here. Learn about the calories and nutrients that the item contains. Make it easy to compare similar foods. So if you are in the market of buying, a can of beans or baked beans, let's say, okay? You might take 2 cans and you might compare the nutrition facts table. You might look at the ingredient listing to see if there's any sugar added. And then you might look at the nutritional facts table and compare the amount of fiber, the amount of fat, in order to make a better choice. So it says look for foods that have little or a lot of a certain nutrient. And it also allows us to select foods for special diets. So if you were on a low sodium diet or you were diabetic, this allows you to pick foods or avoid foods that might complicate or enhance your particular diet. So here is an example of a nutrition facts table. And you'll see here there was an original type of label, and then recently it's undergone a bit of a rebranding. And a few things that have changed, not a lot, but calories are listed there. They're a little bit bigger. Some of the serving sizes, like it used to just be in metric. Now they're putting it in like a per cup. Because again, a lot of people measure their foods using cups, like baking cups, half a cup, quarter cup, 1 cup, and so on. They list our 3 macronutrients, right? This is why we're learning about them. There's fats or lipids, carbs, and protein. Cholesterol is there as well. And then any of our 13 mandated, minerals and vitamins that have to be reflected on the table can be listed there. And sometimes they are in 0 amount, which is good. And sometimes they're in high amounts. And you want to pick things. So like right here, this vitamin C amount is 120%. Which tells me it's probably a fruit juice. So that's good, but then there might be high sugar, and there is, take a look, 22 grams. That is a lot, okay? That would be the equivalent of drinking almost a can of pop, okay? Fruit juice is really, really high in sugar. So when we look at the label, it has to include serving size, calories, the percentage daily value, okay? So for each of our 3 macronutrients, plus our vitamins and minerals as well, the percentage of each of those that you're obtaining from that particular food. The 13 core nutrients, okay, so fat, saturated fat, trans fats, cholesterol, sodium, carbohydrate, fiber, sugars, protein, vitamin A, C, calcium, and iron. Okay, so quite a list that they have to comment on. And the format is consistent across all food products to allow for easy comparison between different items. Being somebody that used to work in the food industry, before I went into teaching, and I was in product development, when we were trying to develop a product and put it out to market, this was one of the things we had to do, was analyze the food. And then there's quite a rigorous process of paperwork to get everything accurately listed on that nutrition label. The information in the label is based on the serving size that is listed. Okay, and that's important because, so for example, if you're looking at the label and it's for half of a cup of juice, and you see that it's got high sugar and whatnot, you normally don't just drink half of a cup of juice. You probably would drink a cup or 2 cups of juice when you have some. So it's one of those things, you can look at the serving size, but you have to understand portion size and translate that into the amounts of these macros or the vitamins and minerals that you actually would be obtaining if you were eating them. So here again, another label, and it just says here, try to get more of these nutrients. So when you're looking at the label, you want to pick foods that are high in fiber, high in vitamin A, high in vitamin C, iron, and calcium. Okay, those are all essential nutrients that we need. And again, we've talked about fiber, how good fiber is for cleaning your system. Okay, and it's so important. It's also a food that makes you feel full and takes your body a little bit longer to metabolize. Doesn't go directly into simple sugars that give you that sugar high and then you crash after. And it says try to get less of these nutrients. So fat, saturated fat, trans, sodium, cholesterol. Sugar should be on there as well. We don't want a lot of sugar intake or consumption as well. So let's just take a look at these 2 labels. And here's cereal A and here's cereal B. And it says, which would you choose? So comparing the breakfast cereals on the left, which one would you choose based on the label and why? So a couple things to consider. The serving size. Okay, so the first cereal A is for half of a cup and cereal B is for a little bit more, 3/4 of a cup. The calorie amount is the same. The fat is essentially the same. There's a little bit of extra fat in cereal A, but very minimal. Cholesterol is the same. Sodium is about the same. Again, that's 170 milligrams. That's a very small amount. 150 milligrams, essentially the same. Carbohydrates are essentially the same as well. Oh, sorry. Carbohydrates, are essentially the same. But then when you come down here and you look at fiber, you notice that cereal A has 28% of your daily fiber intake, but cereal B only has 4. And then when you come down and you look at the other nutrients that are there, they're pretty much the same. So if it was me, I would be picking the higher fiber food that you need less of, right? Meaning that as you eat a little bit less and you consume a little bit less of the cereal, you can get more fiber out of it. And even if you wanted to up it and have an equivalent amount, you're still going to get way more fiber in this and compared to the other, okay, and where everything else is the same. So more fiber in a smaller serving is a nice thing. Here are 2 types of hamburgers. So these would be processed foods, okay? My recommendation is make your hamburgers at home with real meat and put together your hamburger patty. But if you're buying them at a store, which hamburger would you choose? So take a look. Burger 1. So notice the amount, right? Per burger. So an 85-gram patty. Okay, so they're the exact same size. Burger 1, the calories are 210. Burger 2, calories are 125. Okay, so you have way more calories initially. Fat is higher in burger 1 than it is in burger 2. Cholesterol, higher. Sodium, higher. Carbohydrates, sugars, about the same. Protein, about the same. And then not anything really significant down here. So just based on calories, the fat, the cholesterol, the sodium, I think that I would be choosing burger 2, okay, which is a little bit lower in all of those. Here's a nice chart that just talks about the best foods for your body. So again, for hair, right, vegetables, salmon, beans, protein, right? This is what you need because this is what makes up our hair. And And you could just go through and take a look at this as well. Just stop the video and read through everything. So let's talk about healthy weights for teens. And it says there you might have noticed recent changes to your body, including weight gain as a teenager. And you should know that weight gain is a very natural part of your growth and development. As you guys are growing, especially when you were younger in grades like, 7, 8, 9, when you grow really, really fast, and your body is using up a lot more energy to try to keep up with that process. Now that you are, older teenagers, young adults, you're not going to grow as much. And so weight gain is very normal. It's very natural. And we know that healthy bodies come in different shapes and sizes, and that teens also grow and develop at different rates. So there's tools that we can use to help us understand, are we at a healthy weight or not? And this is something called the body mass index. And I don't know if you're familiar with that. They call it BMI for short. And here is a BMI for adults. And you guys are essentially adults. So this is what we're going to use this chart for you. And down here at the bottom, you can look up your look up your height. And you can do that either in imperial or metric system, depending what you use. Most of us use, metric, or most of us use imperial, which is still using feet and inches. Most of us still use our weight as a imperial, okay, so pounds as opposed to metric, which is kilograms. And you can basically just sort of line up your weight and height and then see where you fall in the category, okay? And it's not meant to, make you upset or anything like that, but it's just to give you an idea of your weight range. And then if you're underweight, you'll need to increase your calorie consumption. If you're overweight, you'll need to decrease your calorie consumption or increase your exercise. And if you're in the normal category, that's good, but just make sure that you are maintaining whatever habits you have developed so far. So why is it important to have a healthy weight during your teenage years? And it is really important so that we don't develop chronic disease. So, it'll allow you to do the activities you enjoy. It'll help you grow and develop a healthy body, but it will also help prevent health problems later in life or even now. Heart disease can happen mostly to, older adults, can happen in young people. Type 2 diabetes can happen in young people these days. And type 2 diabetes is different than type 1, which is when people are born with diabetes and they have a problem with their insulin, and they don't produce enough of it to help break down our foods. Type 2 diabetes develops over a period of time, and it's almost always based on diet. And this is where humans consume too much sugar, and then the body stops producing insulin in this response to too much sugar in our diet. And this is why you got to be really, really careful of sugar as you consume different foods. And then you end up developing diabetes, which is meaning that you have to take insulin every day, usually an injection into your stomach. It means you have to be careful that if you go too long without eating, your body, you can become very, very sick. Headaches, dizziness, fatigue, and worse. Diabetics often have bad circulation. They tend, if they've been diabetic their whole life, they tend to have amputations, okay? So they might amputate legs. And again, it's based on the circulation problem. So you want to avoid this, okay, if at all possible. High blood pressure, overweight, and obesity are also problems if you don't have a healthy weight. So there's a few tips here, more than a few, to help you maintain a healthy weight. And the first is eating tips. Okay, so follow Canada's food guide, right, to help you make healthy food choices in the right amounts. Avoid foods and drinks high in calories, sugar, and fat, including all this junk food, right? Pop, pizza, potato chips, candy. And we did say with the Canada's food guide, they don't want you to, never eat these foods, but just once in a while. You cannot have a steady diet of those kinds of foods and be healthy. You just cannot, Okay, so once in a while is certainly okay. Every day eating like that is not okay. Choose snacks, keeping at least one choice being a fruit or a vegetable. And this is a great tip right here. Pack a healthy lunch the night before. And it says this will save you time in the morning for sure, because a lot of us are rushing around in the morning and we don't have time. And it says use leftovers from dinner. Okay, this is what I do. I make my lunch the night before all the time, and I always use leftovers from my supper, or try a quick and easy recipe that focuses on healthy choices. And then avoid unhealthy eating habits to lose weight, such as skipping meals and dieting. There's been lots of research to show dieting does not work. Okay, what works is a reduction in calories, still eating all the foods that you like, just not eating as much of it, and exercise. Those are the two things that you need to do for weight loss. Unhealthy eating can make it hard for you to pay attention in class, do the activities you enjoy. It can also put you at risk for weight gain over time instead of weight loss. Many diets, they're usually radical. They cause you to totally avoid certain types of foods for quite a period of time. And then when you've met your weight goal, you've lost your weight and you're happy with it, when you go back and you eat those foods, they're almost like a poison to your body, and your body, because it was almost like starving for those types of foods, it hangs on to it, and you almost always get your weight back on. So most diets do not work. Okay. And then physical activity tips for teens. So you guys are, a generation where you don't go outside as much. You don't play in the neighborhood as much as like your parents or, kids like me when I was young. So we need to be a little bit more mindful about being physical and getting physical activity. So they suggest being physically active for at least 1 hour every day. This might be tough for people, but I would say half hour every day for sure. And this could be bike riding, running, rollerblading, even just walking. Okay, so go for a brisk walk after lunch. Short 10-minute walks throughout the day will help you achieve and maintain a healthy body weight. Walking is a great form of exercise, and you don't need to stroll. You can walk at a good clip and get good physical activity. And it's also therapeutic. There is something about walking, the right, left motion of your feet, right, taking steps, that is actually therapeutic and good for mental health. So we want to be mindful of that as well. Limit your screen time to 2 hours per day. Well, that's hard when you're taking an e-learning course. But this is something that we need to be careful of. And if you find that you've just been on the screen for too long, just go walk away, right? Take a break from it. What screen time does also is it causes us to sit and be sedentary. And sedentary means that we're not expending any kind of calories here or energy. And if you're eating the whole time, you're going to consume too many calories and you're not going to be burning off as many. Pick new activities, yoga, swimming, dancing, like anything that gets you moving. Also improves bone strength. Okay, so girls in particular, you got to be careful because we are more prone to osteoporosis as we get older. And it starts now. You need to build up your bone strength while you are young adults. And after a point in time, I think they say like around age 25 or so, you cannot build up bone strength as much, a little bit, but you have to take like lots of supplements and things. So do it now, right? Go out and do activities that, cause you to put stress or force on your body, and which will actually increase its bone strength. Help with yard work, walk the dog, just as long as you're up and moving. Here's a calorie intake for different age levels. And we haven't really talked about calories. We talked more about the science, the molecules that we're consuming. But right here would be you guys, okay, 14 to 18. Here's male, female. And notice there's 3 different levels here. So if you're sedentary, so if you don't do a lot of activity, you should be consuming calories in the 2,000 to 2,400 range. If you are moderately active, you can see that you can consume a little bit more. And if you're active, if you play a sport regularly, if you do daily physical activity, look how much more you can eat. Okay, so there is totally a relationship between the calories in and then the energy out, right? As we do physical activity.
Girls notice overall you require less than the guys. And that has to do with body type and the amount of muscle that guys have. They have more muscle than women. So it's normal that way. So watch this. And when you look at your food labels, you are able to count calories that way. And there's all kinds of apps out there that help you count calories based on a serving size of vegetables or fruits or processed foods. If you go to Starbucks, if you like Starbucks and you get yourself like a grande latte, like apparently there's like 400 calories in one of those drinks. Well, take a look, okay? If you don't do much activity, you've just wasted like 400 calories on a drink, okay? So again, once in a while, not a problem. But if you do that every single day and you don't balance that with other healthy choices, you're going to be in this category in a hurry, which would be okay if you were active. So again, just sort of judge based on your lifestyle. And then lastly, here's a nice graphic, healthy versus an unhealthy diet, and sort of the outcomes of that. So here's a healthy diet. They're eating fresh food, whole grains, organic food, plenty of water. And you notice like more energy, self-acceptance, longer lifespan, better digestion, less doctor visits, okay? And then if you eat a lot of processed food, if you drink a lot of pop or juice, right, sugary drinks, and you don't exercise, you're going to have higher rates of depression, diabetes, obesity, okay, overweight. As a result, then it's going to cause you to go to the doctor a bit more. You might be at risk for cancer or heart disease as well. So make healthy choices, live a good life, and also enjoy it.